Previously on Dark Sean. North versus South. North industrialized. South slaves, even though these guys' skin colors should be switched. Lincoln becomes president. Fort Sumter, start of the Civil War. North versus South officially done. End of part 1. Part 2. Oh wait, you guys didn't clear the screen yet? Yeah, we did. Alright, clean the screen up. Quickly. Oh, we just started! Civil War of the United States of America. Part 2. Ooh. Dun, 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 dun. Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode of the channel, and today we'll be talking about Civil War Part 2. So we get started. Now let's start talking with generals. Now this is General Robert E. Lee. Actually, I use white for this one. This guy's name is not Robert E. Lee. And he is the Confederate States General. He's the Confederate States General. He's the Confederate States General. And what about the Union General? Well, the Union General is this guy named Ulysses S. Grant. And by the way, he served as president for 2 terms, but turns out he's good. Turns out he's only good in the military stuff. And the only thing that he was really bad at was the presidency. That was the only thing he was bad at. So whenever you try to vote Grant, well, you're not allowed to. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't, because he's really bad at being president. He admitted himself, by the way. And then everybody started fighting, but during the last year of the war, someone guessed, and the South tried to threaten DC and so that the North will surrender, but there were 2 options. If the North won, then there will be a turning point in this war, and the North will definitely win. But if the South won, then DC will definitely fall. And so the North had to desperately win. And the North won. And they had to fight in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This battle was so violent that most people even had to fight for them, and the civilians had to take refuge in themselves, except one man who came out for a very strange reason. It turns out something related with peace, and this is what he said: "I'm not letting those soldiers get my beans." And his wife was like, "How many times do I have to tell you they're not here for your beans?" And maybe they were, but mostly they weren't. And when the Battle of Gettysburg won, do you think it was the Confederates who won? Well, turns out, no, it was the Union who won. And fate has sealed itself. Abraham Lincoln came there to even attend itself at the grand opening of the new national cemetery. The new national cemetery of those people who died there on the war. Yeah. And President Lincoln, the main speaker, spoke for nearly 2 hours. And then President Lincoln was called up to talk about and to give out some brief remarks. And in less than 2 minutes and less than 257 words, he was able to masterfully create the whole history of American history until that point, and also what they should do. And I'll read it to you. Okay, by the way, this is my President Lincoln drawing. 4 score and 7 years ago, our fathers brought us forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who have gave their lives, that their nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense, we cannot we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. And that is the Gettysburg Address. Yeah, the Gettysburg Address by President Lincoln himself. And because of its shortness, he was actually criticized, but yeah, who cares? Most people did. And so yeah, but it's so masterfully skilled of how he can do something to just do any of this. I mean, it's just so skilled to do all this. Yeah, well, that's a different thing, but yeah. I don't even think he was supposed to be able to do this, but he was able to do it. And people have loved him since then, loved the president since then. And then during the final stages of the war, when Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant started fighting each other, the top generals fighting each other, Ulysses S. Grant released hell, and he won. And then he was like this. Actually, I saw this in the video. Hey, I don't want to listen to whatever you're going to say. And then he said, and then the guy who wanted to say said, General Lee wants to say he surrenders. General Lee wants to say he surrenders. And then this happened. Ha! Diggity-da! Whoosh. And so here at the end of the war, on April 9th, 1865, General Ulysses S. Grant, the general for the Union Army, and General Robert E. Lee from the what was it called? Yeah, the Confederate Army created peace, and then they lived happily ever after, sort of. And so yeah, Robert E. Lee tried to create a nation where he's so profoundly loved, and he felt more loyal to the state, but he realized that maybe state work was not all. Was that maybe we just needed to do some sort of a mix-up to get this all to happen for real, in real life. This all happened, but he never ever able to witness the full potential of it. So yeah, they shook hands and did everything they could do in their lives to these people. And that was how the war ended. 2 weeks, and a few weeks later, Abraham Lincoln went to Ford Theater to watch a comedy. And in a nearby bar, John Wilkes Booth drank two glasses of brandy and went to the president and shot the president through the president's brain. The brain was highly damaged, And when the doctors examined it, they knew that they couldn't do anything. The bullet wound went inside the brain. So the next morning, President Lincoln died. But even as President Lincoln died, he was still a big leader. He was still a big leader, and he was the one who saved the Union. In this temple, as in the hearts of the people for whom he saved the Union, the memory of Abraham Lincoln is enshrined forever. I have actually been to the Lincoln Memorial. In this case, it's a sad ending. Abraham Lincoln was the guy and the president who saved the Union from collapse. We should be thanking him, and him not thanking us.